again, everybody. It's Dirk, and good morning to you. It is just, well, the sun has actually risen, I guess, at this point. That happened pretty quickly. It was just rising a few minutes ago. Either that or I'm just kind of like in a sleep daze. Anyway, I shut down last night in western Indiana, right as some huge thunderstorms started blowing through. And I was just coming up on an exit. There was a pilot at this exit, and the skies just turned black, and boy, it just unleashed. And I still had about 3 hours left on my clock. You know, I could have kept pushing, but boy, that weather made me think twice. You know, that's the thing. You know, I like to use all of my clock. I like to keep busy, and you know, I like to produce and do the miles and all that good stuff. But you know, when I'm that close on the end of my day anyway, and that kind of weather hits, you know, I don't know, that's just Mother Nature telling me something, I guess. I'd just rather play it safe and park it. Sure, I probably could have driven, and sure, everything probably would have been okay, but you know, towards the end of your shift, you're already tired, you know, and you know, it's starting to get dark, and all of a sudden you got monsoon rains and lightning and gale winds, and yeah, no, I just took that little exit and hit the pilot and shut her down. So on my way to Pennsylvania, Lancaster, Pennsylvania to be exact, and we're in the middle of Ohio at the moment on I-80, and just thought I would turn on the camera and see if I could grab that sunrise, but I think the sunrise kind of beat me before I could get these cameras powered up. It decided to rise all the way on me. So anyway, more a little bit later. Well, yet another state. Hello, Pennsylvania. You're looking lovely today. I'm doing fine, thank you. Yes, welcome center even. Wow, how nice. And unlike Illinois, their welcome centers are open for semi-trucks. Get that, state of Illinois? Why aren't yours? I know why, because it costs money and you're too busy paying politicians. But anyway, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to get into politics. None of that. It is turning out to be a gorgeous day after all of that rain and gray skies and storminess. The sun has made an appearance. Got nice fluffy white clouds, and I've got another just under 5 hours or so until I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which will be my final for today. It'll make a long day of driving, but hey, you can do that in these trucks. They're super comfy to drive. Actually, I like driving the truck. I'm more comfortable driving the truck, I should say, than I am driving my own car. And I've got a very nice car. It's just because you get a lot more room and the way you're seated. It's great. So anyway, I just wanted to pop in, get a little shot of the scenery, a little shot of entering the great state of Pennsylvania. This is my first time in this state with a semi-truck, so there we go. And start to get hilly. This is fun. More later. Man, so why didn't anybody tell me that Pennsylvania is so damn beautiful? This is a really, really pretty drive. Who'd have thunk it? Interstate 80, you don't really think of being very scenic, I suppose. At least I don't. Man, Pennsylvania, you are stylish today. Just beautiful. I can't wait to see this when everything's green. I can see all the trees are starting to bud though, so we're going to get there soon. But yeah, going through these little hills, you know, certainly not mountains, but little hills. It just reminded me of what a technological marvel these trucks are. You know, specifically these Cascadias. And I know that there's a lot of super truckers out there that, oh, Cascadias, give me a Peterbilt or a Kenworth, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Beautiful trucks. I totally get it. apples and oranges. These Cascadias, they're built to be over-the-road trucks and to be super efficient. And man, do they ever excel at that. The systems on these trucks, just insane what they're able to do. I learned how to drive on a manual, so an ancient manual, like 20-plus-year-old truck, a Mac with an Eaton 10-speed in it. And one of the things you learn very quickly when you learn on a manual that you don't know as a car driver, and of course truckers you can probably check out now because you already know all of this, but for those who don't, shifting the transmission of a semi-truck, quite a bit of a different story than a stick shift car. So your stick shift car has what they call a synchromesh transmission. And I won't get into all the technicals because I don't really know them, quite frankly. But essentially what a synchromesh manual transmission does is it allows the transmission to be a lot more forgiving. It allows the driver to be able to, put the car into a gear and switch into or out of gears that might not be the right gear choice as far as being the perfect gear, but it gives you a wider margin, as it were, to kind of be a little less efficient. And so they're a lot easier, bottom line. Now in a truck, because these trucks carry such an enormous amount of weight, you can't have a synchromesh system because they would get chewed to bits. They're not strong enough. So as a result, without the synchromesh, you need to be shifting the transmissions on trucks at exactly the right time and in exactly the right gear. And there's very little wiggle room. There is some, but not much. And so there's three things basically that when you drive a manual truck that you always have to know, and it becomes instinctive. But at first it's very difficult to figure it out. You need to be aware of how fast you're rolling, so the speed of the truck. You need to be aware of exactly where your RPMs are, the rotational speed of the engine, and then you need to know exactly what gear fits those two parameters. And if you mess that up and you try to shift from one gear to another, and the gear that you're shifting into, whether you're upshifting or downshifting, if your ground speed of the truck and your engine RPMs, the rotational speed of the engine, if they are not in line and sync with that gear, it will balk. It will literally kick the shifter back at you and it won't go into gear. Very frustrating when you first learn. It's not easy. It becomes easy once you figure it out, and once you kind of get a feel for it, it becomes a lot easier. But like if you've ever driven through the mountains and you see the runaway truck ramps, well, the runaway truck ramps were, designed and built when manual transmission trucks were the only trucks on the road. They didn't have automatic transmissions. And that's where shifting can become downright dangerous, because if you're in a semi-truck that has a manual and you go to downshift, so you're shifting from a higher gear to a lower gear, when you're on a downhill slope, especially a very steep grade downhill slope, if you miss that gear, you will not be able to get the truck back into gear unless you're really good and really know how to recover it really quickly. You blow the gear, and oftentimes you're now in neutral, and the only thing you got stopping that 80,000 pounds of momentum are your brakes. And that's why you see these trucks flying down the mountains with their brakes on fire or their brakes smoking, because somebody totally messed up shifting and probably blew a gear. So if you blow a gear going down a hill, that's when you have to hit those emergency off ramps, because there's nothing that's going to stop you. Your brakes, if it's a big enough mountain, your brakes are going to burn, fade out, and you're going to have no brakes. You're going to have nothing. So you have to hit those escape ramps to stop the truck. And that, unfortunately, not that terribly long ago, there was that major incident in Denver with that guy that came barreling down the mountain on I-70 and killed a whole bunch of people. And I'm not exactly sure. I didn't follow it after the fact. I'm not exactly sure what they discovered, if anything. But you know, when I first saw that, and still now until I hear otherwise, I have to imagine that he probably blew a gear, blew the shift, and transmission's in neutral, can't get it into gear, panicked, and smoked his brakes, and then he was along for the ride until he crashed and killed people. So anyway, the reason I'm bringing all of this stuff up is because, circling back to these new trucks, and specifically the Cascadias. The Cascadias have Detroit DD15 engines made by Detroit Diesel. They have 12-speed automatic transmissions, but with these trucks they also have this suite of technology. It's the Detroit Assurance Package, and it has adaptive cruise control, so it has forward-looking radar. On my dashboard right now, I can see the speed of the car in front of me, which is an amazingly helpful thing to have. So you really know when you're coming up on somebody who's going too slow. You know well in advance. There's no guessing. And they have side protection and lane departure warnings and all of this stuff. But one of the coolest things that it has is that its adaptive cruise also incorporates the Jake brakes, and Jake brakes are super important in a truck on hills. And you can essentially use the engine to slow the truck down. And this automatic transmission system with this assurance system, it incorporates Jake brakes into the cruise control, which is absolutely astounding. I have just been marveling at this thing as I've been going through these hills. I'm on cruise at 67 miles per hour. I have yet to touch the brakes, never once. And even on like a 5 or 6% grade, the truck will allow it to speed up to about 71, 72 at the most from a cruise control sit at 67. And I'm at about 75,000 pound gross weight right now, so I'm fairly heavy. So that's a lot of momentum going down. And being set at 67, even on the steepest hills that I've encountered so far, it'll let me speed up to about 71, 72 max. And I'll hear it turn on stage 1 of the Jake brakes. I'm watching it in the dash, I'm hearing it, I'm listening to it. It's downshifting the transmission from the 12th gear to the 11th gear and incorporating the Jakes. It'll go to Jake brake stage 2 if it gets really steep. It'll even go to 3 if somebody changes lanes in front of you on a real steep downhill. It is absolutely remarkable. You can drive a semi-truck up and down mountains just using the cruise control. It's absolutely astounding technology. And anybody that has driven a semi-truck with a manual transmission and gone up and down hills or mountains, you really would be the people that would understand just how amazing this technology is. And I know that there's a lot of people that swear by manual trucks, and God bless them. Manual trucks are a blast. They are a lot of fun. But even if you're pro manual and against automatics and you don't want to drive one and all that, fine, I get that. That's great. Everybody's got their preferences. But you have to at least admit that the technology is absolutely amazing. If you were to take a truck driver from like 1940 and like time warp them back here to current day and sit them in this truck, their jaws would be on their lap. They would be absolutely astounded with what this truck can do. Anyway, I didn't want to get too long-winded. Of course, I already did, but just wanted to throw that out there. I was just thinking about it, as I said, as I'm rolling through these beautiful rolling hills of Pennsylvania. And yeah, more later.